The big question that we are raising here at the top of India at 9, should a mosque be built near the 9/11 ground zero site? That's the first big question tonight in our talking point. Joining us now, KC Singh, former diplomat, is with us. Javed Naqvi, he is a columnist, journalist, also is a columnist with The Dawn. Joining us on the phone line, Gautam Adhikari, senior journalist from Washington, D.C., where President Barack Obama is having a press conference at the moment. Let me get first reactions to this. Should the mosque be built near the 9/11 site? KC Singh, do you believe in India it could have a backlash? Both the Quran burning incident, where the pastor has now backed off, and the mosque issue, does it have reverberations here as well?
There is an international dimension to it, not just in India, but I think elsewhere. We've seen in Kabul today what was happening. It's happened earlier in Islamabad, when the US Embassy, many years ago, the US Embassy was overrun by a mob. A few people were killed. This was, I think, Salman Rushdie's time, or thereabout. So there can be a whipping up of sentiments at a time when the US forces are present in Afghanistan and abroad. It would complicate the relationship between US and the Muslim Ummah. And it got complicated with President Obama taking a position on it. First taking a position, then backing off. This obviously is something for which space has to be found for the debate within US constitutionalism, rule of law, communities, understanding each other's feelings. This is not something on which you can, insist on one point or the other.
You can't insist on one point or the other, but Javed Naqvi, are you getting a sense? This is an issue I raised a couple of days ago, when Islamophobia that has emerged in the United States. The pastor, maybe a very marginal figure, but was perhaps trying to tap into that ahead of 9/11. He's backed off now from the burning of the Quran, but somewhere, both in the mosque controversy, where most polls are showing that most Americans don't want a mosque or a cultural center, as it's being called, anywhere near 9/11. Is an Islamophobia at work here?
No, I think it was a very silly idea to first propose a mosque at ground zero, because what is anybody trying to prove by having a mosque built there? Why not a gurdwara or a Hindu temple or a synagogue? Why a mosque? What is the symbolism of that? Or a multi-faith thing. So,
the Imam suggests that it's important to do that because he believes it's a way of actually building harmony, suggesting that Islam is not just about violence and terrorism. Islam is also about about bringing people together, and it's a process of healing.
Well, if the Americans want to help soothe Muslim sensibilities, they should probably consider withdrawing from Afghanistan and Iraq, and taming Israel as far as the nuclear standoff is concerned, and be even-handed with Iran also, and not just single out people and protect Israel and so forth. So I think there is the international dimension that needs to be considered more seriously than all these symbolisms about mosques.
Just hold those thoughts, because US President Barack Obama has now defended his stand both on outsourcing and, of course, on the mosque issue. We'll get his comments in a moment on the mosque issue, but Gautam Adhikari is joining us at the moment from Washington, senior journalist. Gautam, how are you seeing it there in Washington, the issue firstly of the mosque, the way it's playing out there, both the burning of the Quran and the issue of the mosque at ground zero? Do you believe somewhere that ahead of 9/11 there has been Islamophobia in America this week?
Well, first of all, the mosque is not at ground zero. It is 2 blocks away from ground zero. Right. Secondly, it is not even a mosque. It is called an Islamic cultural center. And constitutionally speaking, anybody who is strict interpreter of the Constitution here says that the people who are trying to set up this cultural center have every right to do so, and the mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg, has strongly come out in support of the right of those people to set up the mosque. Unfortunately, it has become a political issue in this day and age, with the Twitters and all kinds of other facilities available on the web. These things spread like wildfire.
Right.
And you actually have about 70% or 68% of American people now against the idea of a mosque, which most of them think is at ground zero. It is not at ground zero. Besides, there is a mosque already about 4 blocks away from ground zero.
Okay, point taken.
Nobody's saying anything about that. Okay. There's a gentleman's stripper club about 2 blocks where this mosque is being built next door to it. So, I mean, there's nothing sacred about, then in that case you can say that the whole of Manhattan is sacred.
Okay, point taken. Do you believe there's propaganda, KC Singh? Because across the world, the impression is being given that the mosque will be on the ground zero site. People are being, in a sense, misled, or are they being deliberately misled about where the mosque will be? Is this, as I come to it, an attempt to somewhere create another fresh confrontation of sorts on the eve of 9/11?
I think it's spun out of control, Rajdeep. And in these things, perceptions are more important than reality. People won't believe it. Even if you say it's not there, it is there. The perception in US amongst the Christian community and the majority white community is it is there. It is in the face of the very site where a lot of people died. I'm sure including some Muslims. It's not that only Christians died in that.